Well, before we start with the silence, I just first want to say hello. Nice to see you all. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much, Romy and Buddha-Haus München, Florian, and others for inviting me. And it's great to see some old friends, good friends, and to meet new friends too. So good to spend the evening together. I'm feeling very happy right now. And maybe you said, if you don't understand something that I say, then just raise your hand so we can translate. So let's start with a little bit of silence. This will be a short meditation. Let's say 5 minutes right now. We're going to do a little bit more later on, okay? So let's just arrive. Feel the earth beneath you. And let go of the day, let go of the past. Let go of tomorrow and the future. And let's all just arrive in the here and now together, sharing this moment. You might take a few deeper breaths and breathing in calm and letting go as you exhale. Relax, ease. And then let the breath find its own natural rhythm. And simply meet whatever is happening in your experience with kindness and presence and ease, just one moment at a time.
to start with, who does not know James Baraz? Please put up your hand. Because otherwise we could continue the silence and just experience the felt sense of James. A few words about James. He has been teaching Buddhism, mindfulness since 1978 and is not much older than me. Yeah. There is a chair for you, Claudia. And he's the co-founder of a meditation center in California, quite a famous one called Spirit Rock. I think you co-founded that together with Jack Kornfield. Mm-hmm. And
one or two other people.
One or two other people, yeah. And he's the creator and teacher of Awakening Joy. That is a secular program sciences and positive psychology that I interviewed you about last time. It was basically, last time was about joy, and it made me take the course and go for the teacher's training. And it's, I now know from my own experience, it's a world wide web of positive transformation. That's how I would call it. Is that okay?
I like that, yeah.
That reaches people throughout all social classes, throughout the world. You notice how impressed I am. And that is a really strong network for everyone in there. It's a miracle how you put that up, but there are many ways of how people connect all over the world. That's one of the strengths, apart from the simple, down-to-earth way in which this deep wisdom is transmitted. Yeah, I admit I'm enthusiastic about it, and I hope to start and continue teaching it here. You're also the co-author of 2 books. One is Awakening Joy, in German Freude. It's out of print, unfortunately. Freude, or
Translator.
Bernhard.
He's the
Was
translator.
war der Titel?
Ja, aber es gibt es als E-Book weiterhin.
Als E-Book?
Als E-Book gibt es weiterhin.
Und im Antiquariat.
Ja, je nachdem.
Habe ich schon mehrere.
Ja, je nachdem. Also,
ja, genau.
Aber E-Book ist auch sehr gut. Also, ja.
Bernhard, wie ist der genaue Titel? Ja. Der genaue Titel ist, ich weiß ihn gar nicht mehr genau.
Der genaue Titel ist Freude.
Einfach Freude.
Ja, also da ist
okay, danke.
Das ist die Taschenbuchausgabe, die im Lehrer Verlag erschienen ist. Und ja.
Du hast es übersetzt.
Lesen und praktizieren.
Ja. Viele lebensnahe Geschichten, die auch motivieren und ganz klare Schritte.
Ja, und James ist, er ist ein sehr bescheidener Mensch, deswegen ist seine Redakteurin ist auch als Co-Autorin angegeben, aber eigentlich ist er der Autor.
Er ist sehr bescheiden,
hat wirklich nur die Redaktion gemacht.
Ja, ist gut zu wissen, Bernhard, ja. Mhm, mhm. Aber es zeichnet ihn aus, merke ich auch. Ja, wirklich. Well, sorry we're talking about you. You're a very humble person.
Probably
Only
better than I don't know.
Things.
Yeah.
Good vibes. Das zweite Buch, Awakening Joy for Kids, ist für Kinder. Ich glaube, das ist erhältlich. Weiß ich, hast du das auch übersetzt?
Nein,
Ach.
das haben wir nicht gegeben.
Okay. And what's really interesting, One Earth Sunday.
Several years. Yeah,
Several years. an organization for Buddhists that wants to put action for, that wants to counteract global warming and the exploitation of our planet and bring together the Buddhist approach, working with greed, hatred, and delusion, and the latest news about the state of this planet. And
excellent. You should check out
website.
One Earth Sangha. Really excellent. Not because I'm just one of the people who supports it. Really excellent.
And one of their main questions is, how can we help ourselves and others to fully awaken to the truth of a warming world and do something about it, as Buddhists. Okay, any more questions on James? Awakening für Götter. Und One Earth Sangha ist diese Organisation. One Earth, eine Welt. Sangha is a website. You can check out all their activities on this website.
Darf ich vielleicht noch sagen, also das Programm, von dem du gesprochen hast, es handelt sich um einen Online-Kurs, der jedes Jahr von February through June ist
Awakening.
Von Februar bis Juni. Awakeningjoy.info und nächstes Jahr auch wieder. Und James freut sich, wenn ihr mitmacht. Ja, aber guckt euch mal die Website an.
Und auf Deutsch darf ich es ab September auch anbieten. Also auf Deutsch darf ich es ab September anbieten. Ich hatte jetzt eine Pioniergruppe und habe das Teachers Training absolviert. Und da kann man auch auf der Webseite den Link und die Info zum Zoom-Kurs erfragen. Ja, the real stuff is in English, of course. Any more questions on James? Then let's get into the topic. The topic was Umgang mit schwierigen Emotionen. I have to admit, well, it's a central topic, as we know, but there is a lot more we can talk about and ask you. Yeah, it's just our start.
Anything.
Because we all know difficult emotions. And before we start with difficult emotions, actually, it would be interesting to know who and what shaped your spiritual path. You are not just a washed and dyed Theravadian, but I noted there is all sorts of influences in there.
Yeah. Starting with when I was a little kid, astronomy, looking up at the stars and going, wow. That was the beginning of my spiritual path. And I would drag my parents in New York. I grew up in New York City, the Hayden Planetarium, and we didn't have that many stars in New York City, but I would go as much as I could and just see our place, this little speck in the whole universe. So I'd say that's when it started. But then growing up, a child of the 60s, and all that entailed. And first book that really changed me or started me on my path was a book called Be Here Now by Ram Dass. Anybody know that book, Be Here Now? And Ram Dass became my one of my two main teachers, and he was from the Bhakti path, the devotional path. And then I went out to meet Ram for the first time in 1974 in Colorado, a place called Naropa, which Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche founded, and I wanted to meet Ram Dass. I asked Ram Dass, what about meditation? And he said, go check this guy, Joseph Goldstein, out, who was there that first summer. And that my other teacher, Joseph Goldstein, and those two teachers, Ram Dass and Joseph, are my two main influences, with a few others, but those are my two main teachers. So I had the bhakti heart quality really spoke to me, and the clarity of Theravadism, and that's what's come out in this way.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we've talked about this One Earth Sangha you teach. When we look at the world nowadays, there are so many challenges, ecological challenges, political challenges, wars. Violence is increasing everywhere, and this creates a rising uncertainty and triggers off emotions like fear, anxiety, maybe anger. How can we, or what do you recommend actually to, first of all, what makes these emotions difficult? Yeah, let's talk about emotions. What makes them difficult?
What makes fear, anger, anxiety, and despair difficult? Anybody find them easy? The heart contracts and the mind gets contracted and cuts off the connection to all the goodness and the beauty inside when there's that contraction. All of the, you know this from what I teach in Awakening Joy, and in Buddhism, all of the beautiful states, all of the wholesome states, kusala in Pali, love, generosity, compassion, joy, all of those states are states of expansion, both in the body, in the mind, in the heart. All of those states of well-being feel good, they're happy in the moment, and they lead to more happiness because of that expansion. All of the difficult states, unwholesome states, akusala, fear, anxiety, greed, hatred, delusion, all of those are states of contraction. The mind gets contracted, the heart feels contracted, the body gets tense. These are states of suffering. And when not dealt with skillfully, lead to more suffering. And so these crises, these situations that are scary, they're very scary. They contract the mind and the heart and the body, and we go around tense and stressed. And so how to open up and to not let that tension and that fear run the show, as I would say, not let them lead. And that takes some practice and a way to hold all of those difficulties, which are very real, are very much part of life, but to not succumb to them so that they take us over, especially in these times. because the more we are carrying around fear, the more it's contagious. We pick it up from each other. When you're around somebody who is frightened or despairing or anxious, it rubs off on us. And when we're around somebody who is calm or joyful or clear and not afraid, that also has its effect. So this is our task, especially at this time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, the question is how? How can we get rid of this negative grip of emotions on us? We are flooded by it. It's like stormy sea we are in. Mm-hmm. I know this is a huge question.
No, yeah,
but
it's a fair question. And I think I would start first with reframing, instead of how can we get rid of this, any kind of trying to get rid of what is understandable, we are fighting what's here. So rather than getting rid of, we need to learn how to hold all of those human feelings with a lot of love, with a lot of compassion, and a lot of understanding, and a spaciousness that can let ourselves feel, but without being overwhelmed. So you make friends with all of those places inside. And this is just what the Buddha said in the Discourse on Mindfulness. In one of the sections, he says, oh, one knows a mind filled with worry as simply, oh, there's worry in the mind right now. Or one knows a mind filled with anger or hatred. Oh, here's hatred right now. Not stop it. How bad of you. No, he says, just make friends with all of those parts of ourselves so that the wisdom and the loving can hold them in a larger container. And so that's, that is what the Buddha said. He said, when an unwholesome state arises, to learn how to work with it and overcome it, as he says, and to cultivate wholesome states as much as possible. Love, patience, joy, equanimity, peace, and to cultivate those states, and even more, which is awakening joy, when a wholesome state arises, to maintain and increase those wholesome states. He very much recommends how we can deepen those wholesome states when they're here, not to pretend that the other ones are not here, open our hearts to hold it all, the greater the container, so that we can deal with those difficult states when they arise. And that's a big part of what's behind awakening joy. Because not many people know, oh yes, I'm supposed to wholesome states, but not so common that it's a very good thing to deepen states. And we usually gloss over them and skip over, oh yeah, oh that's a beautiful sunset. And what's for dinner? And not really drink it in, not really let it touch you. And the Buddha, I'll wrap this up in a moment. The Buddha, in one discourse, he says, if you're in the middle to let yourself feel it. And he gives the example, suppose you're in the middle of an act of generosity, just a natural, spontaneous act of generosity. He says, think to yourself, I'm being generous now. He says, this is a good thing. I'm being generous. Not check it out. I hope everybody sees how generous I am. Pretty generous guy here, right? No, 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 no. He says, just notice how good it feels for generosity to move through me. Oh, it feels so good to be generous. And he says in the same discourse that when you get in touch with that feeling of gladness associated with a wholesome state, he says, this gladness delights the heart. One gains inspiration in the feeling, inspiration in the Dhamma. And then he says, that gladness I call an equipment of mind to overcome all hostility in the mind. And you probably know that you might be having, you know that English word. And then is your heart, it's playing, oh, that's so sweet. And just dissolves for a few. In those beautiful moments, because often we miss them. We're so busy looking for the next thing to be afraid of. So.
I remember your slogan, don't miss it.
That's the essence of awakening joy.
Don't miss the good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but how can meditation support us in holding emotions? I think this is the most difficult part.
Well,
not pushing them away, not deviating, but holding them. Yeah.
This is our task in meditation. You are sitting here and attitude of willingness for whatever is here to arise and be met with kind awareness. So it's not, oh, I hope I get nice and relaxed now. You know, if you really understand meditation, it's here. Meet it with kindness and presence and clarity. So I'm not getting lost in the stories of those emotions, because that's where we really get lost. When you have a difficult emotion, there's a story in the mind. This is really going to happen. Oh, or why did he do that? And it never ends. There's a story. There's a feeling in the mind. It's heavy, it's tight, or whatever it is. And there's a contraction in the body. Usually, we stay with the story level. And we just keep on hitting the replay button over and over. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm glad. But if you can move from the story and just notice, oh, and here's worry, fear. This is just part of being human. And to make friends with all of those feelings, the awareness can hold whatever is here. The awareness of fear is not afraid. The awareness is much bigger, and the fear is just doing its dance for a little while. The awareness of sadness is not sad. The awareness of wanting is not caught in wanting. The awareness can hold it. idea is to, I say, people might quibble with the words, I say, relax and just be the awareness in which everything is arising and passing. Then to get rid of anything, you just learn to be with it all. And if it's hard to be with it, first apply self-compassion. This really hurts. This is really hard. Let me just hold this place of fear or discomfort like a parent would hold a frightened child. Oh, okay, you calm down. And then, if you feel up to it, okay, let me be with this. Let me make friends with this old companion of fear or worry or whatever. And you more and more make friends with everything inside. Nothing that can overwhelm you. And that's.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, would you like to guide a meditation that supports this practice of awareness?
Yes. And Romy, just listen to a retreat that I did earlier. Was it this month?
In June.
June.
Yeah, 16th of June or so. Mm-hmm.
Sounds good. And she said, "Oh, would you do something?"
Yeah. The retreat was called Magic Awareness.
Yeah. The magic of awareness. I teach this retreat with a very dear friend, wonderful teacher, Anam Tupten, who is a Tibetan master. He's actually a Rinpoche, but he says, no, you don't have to call me Rinpoche. So he just goes by Anam Tupten. Fabulous teacher. And he wrote a book I highly recommend called The Magic of Awareness. And we've taught for many years together, along with Trudy Goodman, who's a dear friend, Jack Kornfield's wife, and the three of us had a lot of fun teaching about awareness. So I'll share with you a little bit of the guided practice. Maybe I'll just pull out some notes. And this is just a mini taste. A meditation that was first developed by my teacher, Joseph Goldstein, years ago, when he was listening to a great Tibetan text, the Tibetan Book of the Great Liberation. And I adapted from his adaptation, and a meditation on how to open to the awareness that sees everything coming and going. So we'll do this just for 10 minutes or so. Okay? Should I do 10 minutes or longer?
15 is also okay.
15, okay.
What about you?
All right, you ready?
15.
Okay. So just find a comfortable posture. And with this retreat, with meditation, work with stillness and let yourself be comfortable. And begin by listening to sounds. The sounds outside, the sounds of my voice, the soft sounds in the room. And I'll also introduce other sounds. Let the mind be open, wide, clear like the sky. Sounds appear and disappear in the open sky of awareness. Let the mind be relaxed, receptive, perfectly still. Now, aware of sensations as points of feeling, like stars in the night sky. No head, no shoulders, back or chest or arms or legs, just points of sensation, like stars in the night sky. Inside, no outside, no boundaries, only sounds and sensations arising and passing in the open space of awareness. Now become aware of thoughts and images like clouds passing through the sky. No roots, no home, arising and vanishing by themselves in the open sky of. Let the mind be relaxed, receptive, and perfectly still. No reaching out or pushing away. Just allowing sound, sensation, thoughts, images to arise and pass by themselves in the open state of awareness. Now become aware of feelings as patterns of energy coming together for a little while and dissolving in the open, vast space of awareness. And now become aware, awareness itself. Awareness clear, without color, without form, invisible like ice. become aware of awareness. Awareness has no color or form. It is, but it doesn't tangibly exist. Look directly at awareness. Awareness is vast, without eyes, limitless. It contains all things, but is not composed of them. Look directly at awareness itself. And steady. No attachment, no resistance, allowing all experience appear and disappear in the open stillness of awareness. The next time the bell rings, it will signal the end of just allow everything to arise and pass on its own in the open space of awareness.
I suggest a very
Well, first I want to acknowledge the people that are watching. Hello. Sending metta right through the camera to you. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, and this evening is pretty much structure of every Tuesday evening here. The Tuesdays are called Kalyanamitta evenings, and they are guided by Alexander, who is here.
Who's Alexander?
Yeah. Nina is over there. She's actually the one who organizes it and who leads the Tuesdays, mainly, and by me. And in the first hour, we have a meditation practice, and then followed by, and then questions, actions. And that's what we continue.
Let's bring it on.
Yeah. And to start with, is there any sort of feedback or question on the meditation practice we did? Yeah.
So when awareness looks at awareness, so even though if I go on a subtle level, there's stability, there's still watcher. So how to give up this subtle?
Shall we translate it for someone?
What is subtle?
Subtil. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you notice that you can't catch the awareness, can you? You can't get it quickly. I got it. Because it is what is doing the looking as well, right? So just sensing it, but more knowing is a knowing. Doing the knowing. It's for eyes. Can you not through you? Awareness. Do I awareness awareing? And this is the
Where does the awareness go when?
so consciousness going on in through most of sleep. That's what dreams and other things. But keep it really simple. Just work with the wakefulness. That's the space of awareness in which it's all happening. Anything else about that practice?
I think it's difficult. I think this always, distracts me. The point was get more into what it is or how to feel what it is.
Again, it's this, could everybody?
No.
Then maybe.
Ja.
Also ja, ich
Das,
muss noch mal sagen.
das Thema, ja.
Well,
Möchtest du selber sagen?
Genau, also was mich immer verwirrt ist, glaube ich, es wird in solchen Meditationen immer viel gesagt, dass es nicht ist. Und es verwirrt mich dann immer, weil ich dann immer da lang gehe, wo es nicht ist. Ja? Das Nicht-Ist sehen, so, okay, was, dann muss ich immer so hin und her switchen und das verwirrt mich irgendwie ein bisschen. Deswegen frage ich mich, ob es so Pointers gibt.
Yeah. So when anything, it's just more as I ring the bell. and then it disappears. So the key is to just, in this kind of meditation, to just tune into the space and all coming and going. The key thing is to not grasp at what we usually do. Here's a little, I didn't do this at the beginning of the meditation, but here's something I often introduce. You see?
Lines.
Lines, okay, good. What else might you see? Anyone?
Speckles.
Speckles? Something else? Something back there? What? Form, yeah. Okay, there's so many things you can see. But one thing that's not easy to see around that hand. And you could think, and you're noticing all of this. That's what this is. That's what this is. Which is a valuable thing because then you're not so content. Seeing, it's all just a show. It's all just coming and going. How many thoughts have you had today? You? Have you had? Probably a few. Any one of them you could say, that's me. It's all just coming and going and coming and going. How many sensations in the body? Countless. Countless. Think of this solid self, but you are a pattern of life in which all of those are changing. That doesn't make sense, just let it go.
The images are from poetry. They have this objects and shifting into the wider perspective. It's
like to, that's solid, whom life is happening. Okay? Feel the ness of your, yeah? And now for shift and think of yourself as a field of activity right now in this form, blood pumping throughout the whole body, sending nutrition to all the cells. System, thousands of battles, a verb moving through this in a pattern call you. Of letting of the meanness, the identity, and just life, knowing through this form. you notice? Do you from being the identity, yep, I've got my driver's license, I know who I am, to just life itself. It's very freeing, very liberating. So we can open up other questions.
Yes. Anton.
So I think that it's important to make a distinction between joy and passion, because passion is the thing that people, like not hunt, that's too negative, but that stays throughout life. But how would you distinguish passion?
What did you say? Passion?
How would you?
Yeah.
It just stays throughout life, and
Passion stays without life?
permanent somehow, although passions also change. Just how would you define it? Or
The question
separated.
between joy and passion. Well, when you say it stays without life, there's people that I think are not as connected to their passion as would be helpful. And passion is, both passion and joy are words that mean different things to different people. So, if you think of passion can be and a whole lot of attachment and craving. There can be spiritual passion. One of my favorite lists is called the 4 Iddhipadas, where there's a passion for awakening, and it can take the form of enthusiasm, or it can take the form of heroic effort, or it can take the form of urgency, or it can take the form of falling in love with the Dharma. Those are the 4 Iddhipadas. I won't get into it. That's a very kind of passion. Or it can simply mean, you have to decide what you mean by it, a deep caring about something that makes you alive. And when skillfully held, I think that's a very beautiful thing to get in touch with. As far as joy, again, when I say joy, there are many different flavors of what I'm calling joy. And there's a whole spectrum of well-being. You know the word well-being here? Where it can include delight, it can include bliss, it can include a deep sense of peace and contentment. So, calling it awakening joy, it's a little catchier than awakening well-being. But
Wohlbefinden in German, yeah.
Yeah.
Wohlbefinden.
But for me, joy is we come into this world with a kind of aliveness, with a kind of delight in life. You see a baby, if that baby and diapered, you translate if I need.
Ja, wenn das Windel gestillt ist.
And given a little bit of love, what do? Wow, isn't life wonderful? That's the natural state. And in Hindu way of thinking, there's this term Sat Chit Ananda, consciousness and bliss. They're all naturally awakening joy, not finding it, discovering it. This is who you are isn't confused, isn't contracted, isn't in pain, that it is that natural. Now, the interesting about joy, when I think of what allows one to get in touch with that, and in exploration, I think the key is being authentic, being right where you are, being connected with where you are, even if it's sadness, even if it's pain, even if it's whatever it is, when there's authenticity and connection with that, there is a certain aliveness. That's another way that I think of joy. So that aliveness of being connected to the truth is really the seed of joy. That might have passion, it might be content and just alive in the peace. So there might be an overlap. Does that make sense? Yeah.
No, totally. It's actually pretty different.
You say?
Different from each other. Many people associate, or at least, okay, I can only speak for myself, that where I expected passion, maybe intellectual, to be something where you're constantly enjoying something, but the word deep caring, quite.
Passion, he says sometimes he thinks of, people think of constantly enjoying. Constantly enjoying, you get exhausted. Yeah. And one thing, actually, in Buddha's way of thinking of things, this is interesting, there's many different kinds of well-being, as I said, and the way he thinks, describes it, whether sometimes called piti or rapture, where it's intense, and then there's
PT, körperliches Entzücken, ja. Nicht nur körperlich, geistiges Entzücken.
And then there's a softer capacity of kindness, softer still of contentment, and then even softer than that, more sustainable peace. And in his way of thinking, the intensity of bliss is exhausting. After a while, it's not sustainable. So he says, even better is a more refined state of well-being, like a more spacious happiness, and even better than that, contentment. And there's no higher happiness than peace, as he says. So it's turning it on. Think, go for the gusto, as we say. Oh, that's where it's at. No, the Buddha said, it's nice. It's really at is contentment and peace. That's sustainable. You just have to kind of train yourself into thinking, instead of, oh, well, it's okay, but it's not really great. Turn it around and saying, oh, it's really okay.
So better because more sustainable.
Sustainable, and it's also, if you really learn to enjoy it, we get not much happening, boring, anything but that. Give me some, any kind of entertainment, but boring. But actually, how many people would like peace in their life? Yeah. Well, the thing is Peace. Oh.
Or to develop, to be with. Would you agree that meditation can also shift even without curiosity and want to learn more about what do they want? Describe it, well, it dissolves like the meditation for.
There's no when you're not, but it's not because I'm going to get to the bottom of this emotion and really dissect it, and usually that just gets more into more thinking. So it's a tricky kind of thing to not give in to that impulse of fear. However, because there's a spaciousness that comes mindfulness, from kind awareness, where you're not think your way through, there's an openness and things reveal themselves through that openness. There's a wisdom that sees, this is sometimes called insight meditation, because insights do happen. Oh, look at that. But it's not how clever I am. You see, I knew all the time. It's, there's a bit of a surprise there. And when that happens, can be a in letting that new information and understanding register and not, okay, I'll just let it go. You're seeing something in a very way to let it register and to understand and let what is to be revealed be revealed. So that's one aspect where you're not thinking your way through. Another aspect, times, but you have to be really judicious with this, delicate with it. Things can be best not figuring out, but because you invite a question and you simply say, oh, he's trying to tell me. But you have to do it carefully so as not into the project. And it's also very helpful if you're with another person. If another person is asking, is inviting you, that can be a very exploration, inquiry into what's going on. Those kinds of understandings, whether it's another person exploring or you inviting exploration, you change out to more listening, very, very skillfully, quietly. You're listening for the wisdom rather than trying to grab it. And that can have its place. You just don't want to make every meditation, now I'm going to answer to all of my problems. Just when it feels right to invite, you have somebody who might help you explore, but it's more about listening than using your cerebral intellect. Yes?
How do you accept something? So in meditation there is always the talk about accepting everything that is coming to you, but how do you accept especially things you don't like strong negative emotions? What do you do inside yourself that you really try to start to accept?
How do you accept things in your life especially different coming. How do you accept it? Are you saying, how do you accept the situation or accept the emotion?
The emotion.
What's that?
The emotion.
The emotion. Ah. Well, again, there are different approaches, and so what works for you. Whatever is you can think of it as giving you the opportunity to relate to this old companion you've had most all of your life. The circumstance, the relationship, or the problem or whatever, and you get angry, for instance, and anger arises. Instead of or getting caught in, oh gosh, I'm so angry and that happened and this happened, and instead, again, if you go to another, oh, my old friend anger, it's been with me my whole life. Now I'm not saying you should say this. This is the attitude. This is an opportunity, if I really want to use mindful awareness, loving awareness, to get more in touch so I can accept seeing this is a time for me to make friends with this old companion. And perhaps you're familiar with RAIN. Are you familiar with the RAIN acronym? No, maybe not. So, acronym, and there's a few that's used. If you're a Tara Brach fan, and Tara is one of my dearest friends, she has one way of using it. There's another way that we've used for many years. But the RAIN acronym, as I use it, recognize anger. The A is giving permission for anger to be here. The I is negation or bringing an interest, not to the story, but to feel, oh, what does anger feel like in my body? Tightness in my chest, or the constriction in my throat or my jaw, the sensations that are buzzing around. What does it feel like in my... Oh, it's swirling, it's heavy, it's dark, or whatever. And you're exploring that companion of anger a little at a time, as much as you're able to. And when it's too much, you just back off. And then the end, this is non-identification, which is a fancy way of saying not taking it personally. Like my situation, where anger has just arisen, awareness. It's here for a while, and I'm not a bad person for having this anger. It's here for a while, it will go, and I don't have to blame myself for it or get caught in the story, but just see it as an energy. And the more you can make friends in that way, you're making friends with everything inside. And part of the meditation is learning to embrace everything inside. If you're not able to do that because you're activated, then that's when you first apply some self-compassion. Wow, this is really hard. Oh, this is just part of being human. And let me hold this with kindness and compassion. So there's different methods, but the whole principle is still you're making friends with the whole show. there's a line I love from there's a poet and Kabir translator, Robert Bly. He's an American poet. And he says, every part of our personality that we do not learn to love will become hostile. So if you hate your anger, then you'll spend a lot of time suppressing it. Or your sadness or your loneliness or your fear or whatever. Not the way. It's to embrace it all. Just like if you saw a little child who had a tantrum and was really dysregulated, would you say, stop it, relax? No, that wouldn't do it. What is that little child? Just to be held and comforted and be told, you're really okay and loved. Then it starts to calm down. Well, we're all little children inside. We might act like grown-ups, but when we get activated, we're little boys and girls or little children in big bodies. And we need that same comfort. And that is the task and the gift of the meditation, to make friends with it all. Yes?
I have a question.
Yeah, no, go ahead. You had your hand up first. Well, maybe the last two. I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
Your time. And I can stay afterwards if people have more questions.
Now I'm finding it a bit challenging to navigate this being in a meditation state and being loving awareness. I also love a lot of him. Also love his podcasts where a lot of these old talks come.
Good stuff.
And I connect with this loving awareness and just allowing these emotions to play out. Although I feel sometimes that when I get too much in the loving awareness side, if that's even possible, I tend to go into non-reaction on moments where a reaction would have been healthy. When, for instance, setting boundaries or escalating something that will, again, if I don't act. So I feel that my inaction caused by too much awareness gets in the way sometimes. And now I'm trying to walk this tightrope of when is it a good time to act, when is it not a good time to act. And because you already have some experience with action group, even with this, sorry, what was it?
Earth.
One Earth Sangha.
I would love to hear a few more words on, from your experience, when do you feel it's a good time to just let it go, embrace the emotion, let it play out, and don't. And when is it a good time to, this requires a proper reaction.
Yeah. It's a very important question.
Shall we repeat it in German for also for the YouTube people? Die Frage ist bei dieser Awareness-Meditation, Gewahrseinsmeditation, man kann dann auch immer friedlicher und inaktiv werden. Und wann ist die Zeit, in Aktion zu gehen? Wie findet man da auf diesem Seil, das ist wie ein Seiltanz, welche Balance zwischen Aktion und Ruhe? War das?
Ja, Grenzen setzen oder auch
Grenzen setzen.
Skalierbar ist.
Ja.
Irgendwie eine gesundere Reaktion.
Ja.
Ja, auch möglich.
Wann ist es eine gesunde Reaktion? Genau.
It's a really important question, and many people who are into meditation have the misunderstanding that this is just about finding peace within yourself, which is a very important thing to start. But there's a whole lot of suffering in this world, and there's a whole lot of greed, hatred, and delusion needs response. Especially, well, you don't have to go into it all, but in the face of climate, in the face of people in power who are just hungry for power, or on a personal level when you need to act. And one simple guideline that I'm sure everybody is familiar with, that's really right on, is the Serenity Prayer. Are you familiar with the Serenity Prayer?
Das Gelassenheitsgebet.
Yeah, it says, grant me courage to change the things I can change, the serenity to accept the things I can't change, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, your question is, how do you get the wisdom to know the difference? If I hear you right?
Yeah.
Are there times when you're moved to act?
Yeah.
How do you know? What moves you?
When I tend to react is
When you tend to act.
when I tend to act is either when something is happening once again, that when I already go and I accepted the emotion, I embraced it how it was, and someone else misuses that and did it again, and it bothered me. At that moment I knew, okay, I need to change I need to change my path right now.
Because it bothered you the first time probably too. So what's the difference in the second bothering?
Bad experience or like wrong choice.
You got clear, right? You said, okay, action is needed, right? Listen inside. That's a key to get in touch with what your truth is, where you can make a difference for, but not with hatred. That's the key. This at the retreat, Sharon Salzberg, who's a friend and a teacher of meditation for many years. Many years ago, she was going through the streets of Calcutta on a human rickshaw, and somebody bandit tried to rob her and get her purse. And she goes back and she tells her teacher, Manindraji, about this awful, frightening incident. And Manindraji, who was a very beautiful, sweet man, he says, "Oh dear, with all the loving kindness in your heart, you should have umbrella and beat that man off." With all the loving kindness in your heart. And that's the secret, to not do it from hate. Because there's enough hate in this world. And to, as best you can, to process your anger and your hate or whatever, and let it come to clarity, or what can be called fierce compassion, and be very strong, but come from love. And that more and more, it takes practice inside, so you're processing all of those intense emotions, and your clarity, it's like the sword of Manjushri, you are doing it not from aggression, but from just what needs to happen. And that you need to listen until you hear, no, this isn't right. And that's the koan that we're all being asked in this time, because there's a whole lot of suffering that we're in store for, and the more you can act from that place of wisdom and compassion, the more effective your action and the more inspiring your action, so that others will want to do the same.
Okay.
So it's Alex? Is it?
Yeah, Alex.
I have a question about silence and resolving conflicts.
Okay.
And we are practicing silence, and we're learning that silence very often is the answer for us, for myself in meditation, wonderful, but then there are the others. And we learn as a guideline to check before we want to say something, is it true, is it helpful, is it needed, and if yes, does the other person want to hear it?
Mm.
Very practical example with an old friend of mine. She was my best woman at marriage, you know, we're really close friends, and we're in a row now about some issues, you know, it's about gender politics and wokeism or something. And I was
small topics, yeah.
But I was checking and saying what I want to say to her. It's been an ongoing debate, you know, we've had that issue for some time, and I was checking what I'm going to say. Is it true? I think for myself it's true. Is it helpful? Yeah, of course, otherwise I wouldn't want to say it. Is it needed to move on with the discussion? Yeah, and then I would sort of ask her, are you ready? Are you willing to hear what I have to say? And she would more or less say no. It's a little bit condensed now in a longer interaction. So we are silent now for quite a while already. But this is not a good silence.
Yeah.
And I see a repetition of patterns, you know, that we have this kind of situation quite often in life, in the world. And more, you know, that people are like standing like this, and it turns out to be a kind of speechlessness, a kind of,
stalemate.
Stalemate, yeah. And I wonder how to overcome it in a good way, and not only by being silent.
Yeah. Good question. Well, first, sometimes there's no way that the other person is willing to hear, or wanting to have a better connection. And the Buddha actually, there's a number of instances in the Pali Canon where some guy, usually a guy, tried to goad the Buddha, you know, or you know, just instigate some kind of argument, and the Buddha remained silent. That was his general response, and just smile. Sometimes he'd say, I choose to not accept your gift. Something like that. But if you think that if you really want to have a connection, say with your friend, and you'd like it to improve, is that right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And do you think that she values your friendship or would like to? Okay. So it's all, the way I see it, it's all about intention. Besides saying the right thing and the right timing in a kind way and all, where you're coming from makes a big difference. So if one person comes up to you and says, Alex, there's something I need to clear with you. Are you ready for the feedback? Would you say, oh yes, please lay it on me? Yeah, oh, thanks for enlightening me. But if somebody said, Alex, I really value our friendship, and it saddens me that there's something that's been in the way, and I really want to be able to have a good communication with you, and so if and when you're open to it, I'd love to be able to discuss and have us really hear each other and appreciate each of our realities, so this doesn't have to get in the way, because our relationship is so important to me. You might be a little bit more interested in hearing what they have to say, because the underlying energy is one of, I want to be a friend. I want to reconnect and value our friendship. And so let's look at this and not have it be a barrier to the goodwill and the care that we both feel. Then it's held in a much bigger context. But you would need to get in touch with your intention and really lead with that and communicate that. And it might be, maybe you're not ready now, but I want you to know, if and when you are, I really want to see, to be able to be friends again. So that's I think, the key intention. Did that land for you? Yeah. Thank you.
It's a pity we can't invite you as another teacher of the Kalyanamitta evenings every Tuesday. And the every Tuesday. And the time is over.
Yes.
As you said, you are staying here for individual questions. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I want to thank you from all of our hearts, I think, for all the compassion and wisdom and, everyday wisdom, which we can practice every day, and the energy after your illness. You were ill during your last retreat, and you only recovered.
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
I'd never had COVID before until this retreat that I just led. And last 2 days, just one line instead of two. So I'm very happy.
So it's wise to end here. Mm-hmm. And there is hope that you might come again next year.
Yeah, if invited.
If things work out, this would be great. And I would like to give you the last word. But before that, one organizational issue. If you would like to help, you can put your mats and your cushions back, first thing. And on your way out, don't forget the dana to balance out the energy and to practice this joy of giving. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for inviting me, and it's been a real delight for me. You know, Romy, last year we met for the first time, and she said, "Oh, come." And then this year she, as she said, did the Awakening Joy teacher training, and it's been a real joy for me to see how you've enjoyed it and now can share it with others. So, if she leads an Awakening Joy course, mm-hmm. I think she got the transmission. So, yeah.
Thanks.
And please, if you're into it, do the Awakening Joy course. It's fun. Nobody is turned away because of finances. It's a pretty modest charge. I'm also going to be teaching a beginning class online in the fall, a 6-week beginning class, Introduction to the Meditation. And I'll be doing a 4-week Brahma Vihara class through Spirit Rock, also in the fall. If you go to my website at awakeningjoy.info, that Bernhard mentioned before. So lovely to be together. Let's dedicate our time here. Just feel all the good energy in the room. And feel that same good energy right inside of you. You wouldn't be able to feel it otherwise. And then all of the goodness that we've created here together, we can roll it up into one big ball and then share it with all beings in all directions, including this beautiful planet that we share that needs our love. May any goodness and wisdom and love that we create here together be shared for the benefit of all. Thank you so much. Great to spend the evening. You're free.
Wow. Yes, so much heavenly energy. It's amazing. Thanks so much.
You definitely